Greetings, Rangers. Particularly senior Rangers, junior Rangers taking AP English Literature at Chisholm Trail High School this year. Greetings from Dr. Sutton. I'm going to go through the syllabus information. I'll provide a brief overview of some of these points during our first class meeting, but I believe in maximizing our time talking about more relevant things than just going through a syllabus. So, here's all the nuts and bolts that I have for the course. First, contact. My email address is dsutton@ems-isd.net. Note, this is not the student email address, the one that's dsutton@student- or whatever it is. I don't really use that email address. Make certain when you email me, you contact me, you send me things, send it to this email address. My Twitter handle is @GoodDrSir, GDDRSIR. It's followable pretty easily and quickly. I've got a lot of students on there. It's a good way to get contact with me. I don't mind direct messages or things of that sort. That being said, do know I follow the district's protocol regarding responding to students. Roughly 11 o'clock at night until 7 o'clock the next morning. I'm not able to give direct feedback or responses. Sometimes I may see a question or something in the general trail of feeds and all that are there, and I'll post a generic answer not targeting perhaps the person that actually posted it. This is a way for me to answer it without violating the protocol or, certainly without causing any unnecessary contact in all the students during those hours, because I do respect that aspect of the district. But at the same time, sometimes I do have questions and all, and I want to try and provide you with a little bit of extra info. So as far as the course description goes, this is straight from the College Board. AP English Lit courses are designed to provide students with a collegiate experience in higher learning while they're still in high school. Specifically, the purpose of AP English Lit course is to enable students to read complex texts with understanding and to write prose of sufficient richness and complexity to communicate effectively with mature readers. As opposed to the traditional high school course, the AP English Lit course focuses more on the development of individual intelligent analytical arguments and observations as opposed to strict objective mastery. Prepare to be challenged and prepare to grow. Now, I'm going to simplify this. Essentially, AP English Lit is an intensive course where we will read, write, and talk. We're going to read quite a few different pieces. You will see an uptick from what your colleagues may have read last year, with certainly more short stories being included in the mix this year, as well as poetry finding a little bit more of a constant feature. That being said, we do read several different novels and dramas as we go through the year, and we tend to move pretty quickly through all of them. The reason for this is twofold. First, the more large-scale pieces I can get you contact with, and you can find ones that you truly intimately enjoy, the more resources you'll have for the third question on the AP exam. And then secondly, I have a lot of students that have told me over the years that they would prefer to move things quickly, because if it takes too long or is drawn out too much, then they get bored and they disconnect. Writing, we're going to write a bunch. We're going to start kind of slow with analysis paragraphs, kind of getting used to the writing style, and then we're going to move fast from there on out. You'll write a minimum of 4 essays per 6 weeks as far as timed writings, as well as a certain number of large-scale research papers that are going to be evaluated using a college standard. Again, just part of the game. And then conversations. I don't tend to sit up at the front with PowerPoints and click through them when it comes to literary analysis. We're going to talk through certain points and things about the plot and tools and techniques that the authors may be using. But a lot of times the conversations that y'all are going to be having aren't necessarily going to be full group. They're going to be more focused on individual group conversations with smaller groups of people, where you get a chance to intimately really just kind of dive into it. I find people are willing to talk with a group of 3 or 4 people far more easily than they are a group of, say, 30. Materials. And keep this cheap, simple. This is what you need. 3 highlighters of different colors. Pencils are only needed for multiple choice activities, and even then, for most of those, you can use a pen. It's always a good idea to have 2 or 3 pencils just in general. Pens. Have plenty of these. I don't have a color preference. It should be something that I can easily read. and something that you can use to write legibly. Sticky notes for annotating school texts. If you're going to use the books the school provides, then you will need to have a way of being able to take notes within the text areas when you're reading through them, and you can't do it directly on the page. So sticky notes or something similar works really well. The reason I'm advocating stuff that you can use within the book itself is because the notes are going to matter far more if they're made right there in the text itself as opposed to on a separate piece of paper in some sort of note-taking fashion. Paper for taking any notes that I may share with you or any observations that you may have, as well as paper, of course, for writing your essays. 4 folders with brads. This is a change from last year. I'm not using binders. I'm going to keep things nice, neat, and individually organized. You're going to write your name on each folder. Go ahead and do that before you bring them to school. And then label one Q1, label another one Q2, another one Q3, and then the final one can be research essays. Now, these folders should be durable enough that they can last you through the entire school year. We're going to put a lot of papers into each of them. Sometimes there will be multi-page pieces like the research essays. In other cases, they may be just 2 or 3 pages, like is the case with the free response cues and all that are listed there. Either way, you're going to keep track of every ounce of writing that we do within this class, and you're going to have 3 very distinct portfolio groupings of the work that we're doing. You also need to make certain your district email works so that you can access it, and that you have Canvas access. I use Canvas frequently to post assignments and different notes, and I also use it to email out students as far as things that may be coming up, modifications to assignments, etc., etc. So it's really important that you have these 2 things. Grading percentages are listed there. 70% for major grades, 30% for minor grades. As you can see, quizzes to me are not major grades, they are just minor grades. If I say it's a test, a timed writing, or something of that sort, it's going to fit in that 70% range. I give usually more majors than I do minors, and in cases where we wind up having more majors perhaps than are necessary, I have been known if people have done exceptional work and really tried to drop some of the lower grades. Do not go into my class thinking that you're automatically going to score 100. If you're thinking you're going to score 100 just because that's what you've always gotten, or because you're somewhere in the top 10 ranking and that's guaranteed to happen, 2 things about that. Number 1, I respect the top 10 race. I've been fortunate enough to be mentioned in the Valor Style speeches for the duration of Chisholm Trail being in existence, and of course I hope that will continue. But I'm not here to prop up class ranking. I am here to make certain that you can do the work that you're supposed to do when you exit. So do that work, you'll get the grades, and just do what you need to do. Remediation and tutoring. Most major and minor assignments, when they're attempted with a solid level effort, can be revised. I'll go more into this in class. My goal is not on just putting a grade in. I want to make sure that you can do well on the AP exam in May. More importantly, I want to make certain that you're going to be successful beyond the class. Stopping an assignment just because I put a grade on it does nothing for the greater skill of learning. It does far more for me to let you go back and revise it and fix it than it does just to end it. And so in many cases, I'll let you fix assignments when I can. But again, that's based on them being done with a certain degree of effort. If it looks like you put in no effort and you just slapped something together and submitted it, I'm not going to waste time going back through another attempt by you. If you wind up having something come up where you can't turn in something on time, that is a communication with me situation. That being said, I do reserve the right, when things are late, to deduct points following the secondary grading handbook. Tutoring. I do offer tutoring usually before and after school. I will be here early almost every weekday morning. Drop my son off at Remington Point, and then I come straight to Chisholm. And then after school, I'll usually be here at the school Monday through Thursdays, up to about 20 minutes after school, unless I've got a meeting off campus, in which case, well, I won't be there. Class rules. This year we're rolling out a bunch of different procedures and stuff on the campus, so this might modify between now and when I see all of you on the first day of school. But I operate under the RIDE philosophy. I liked it when we first had it, and the thing I liked about it is it really grounded itself on a concept of respect. We respect the traditions, we respect the rules, we respect one another. As long as we're being respectful, being a solid ranger in a solid school is not all that complicated. I believe in paying respect to all of you. I give you all due respect and listen to your thoughts and concerns, and I even treat you like, go figure, human beings. That sometimes things go wrong, sometimes things don't work out, and I'm still there to support you through it. At the same time, I do expect y'all to be on time, be prepared. Know that I'm going to follow the rules of the school completely. I enforce the tardy sweeps. I think they're a great thing. They get students to class so I can teach. I support the 10-minute rule. No bathroom breaks 10 minutes after the start of class. No bathroom breaks 10 minutes before the end of class. If you need to go to the bathroom that bad, tell your boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever it is that you're walking with and all to class that you need to go use the restroom or that you just need to go do something else. Make a stop at the pit stop and all, because there's a bathroom. The light blue hall is right there outside my room. Do what you got to do. Get to class. Other than that, I'm pretty flexible about bathroom pass as long as A, I know where you're going, and B, more importantly, I'm not in the middle of teaching something or doing something you need to be there for. Now, continuing there, selection and literature policy. This is something from the College Board itself. What you have to understand is that the College Board dictates what pieces of literature I'm going to choose. As it says here, in an ongoing effort to recognize the widening cultural horizons of literary works written in English, the AP English Literature Development Committee will consider and include diverse authors in their representative reading lists. Issues that might, from a specific cultural viewpoint, be considered controversial, including references to ethnicities, nationalities, religions, races, dialects, gender, or class, are often represented artistically in works of literature. The Development Committee is committed to careful review of such potentially controversial material, still recognizing the universal value of literary art that probes difficult and harsh life experiences and so deepens understanding. The committee emphasizes that fair representation of issues and peoples may occasionally include controversial materials. The AP curriculum that we have and that we execute within this district and within Chisholm Trail High School does follow these expectations. We work with mature texts that talk about things and all that are a whole wide range of issues. Sometimes it's stuff that's really easy to digest in the stomach. It's not something that's overly controversial, but other times it's going to be controversial. And I stand by that. I spend my time looking at the text that we're reading, and I always ask myself, is this more about the controversy, or is it more about the material, the skill set that I'm wanting to teach? If a piece is too controversial and I feel that the skill set won't be able to be accessed, then of course I'm not going to teach it. I've been using the books that we're going to use in this course several times, and I've even got them listed down at the bottom of this page. For us, we're going to focus on The Illustrated Man first. It's a collection of short stories by Ray Bradbury. Mature content, but no sexuality or anything really in that. Hamlet and Othello. It's always funny. If you have Shakespeare, then everybody's perfectly hunky-dory with it. But Shakespeare, he's sometimes a bit of a dirty bird. He likes to have people being very intimate, very uncouth in how they speak. So it's got mature content within it. The Awakening and Raisin in the Sun, both pieces and all that are focusing on marginalized individuals and their pursuit of life and all beyond the constraints that have been placed upon them. Nothing really harmful there, but definitely Awakening was controversial in its time because it focused on a woman, female character and all being empowered to actually discover that she doesn't need to be subservient to men, and Raisin in the Sun, an African-American family and all figuring out their place within a world and all that is moving along around them, and where they want so much more, but perhaps in all they can't quite get it yet. The Kite Runner, controversial. Very controversial. There is a rape scene that happens in the book. Yes, that rape scene winds up being influential in one of the themes of the book itself, but it's not handled in a grotesque manner. It's not like you're reading some sort of overly perverse or, R-rated or higher bit of material. It's alluded to that it's happened. Then you come out the other side of the scene and all, you know that you pretty much know what has happened, but it's not handled in a grotesque way. This book is invaluable because not only is it constantly appearing as a text that is appropriate for answering the Q3 question on the AP exam, but it's certainly one that gives students an introductory experience with mature content and an ability to look at a part of the world and a culture that they normally don't see. And finally, we have A Brave New World. Brave New World's one of those texts where I think that most parents, when they look at it and they have concern, it's because of their own experiences in high school. It does reference a society where instead of procreating and all, procreation being the main purpose of sexual relationships, it's more about pleasure and just giving yourself the euphoric sense of some aspect of joy. But it really isn't a story about sex. Sex is mentioned ever so briefly in there, and it's not done in a graphic way. It's a focus on a society where the world has moved on to being 100% science-based, even though there's a certain degree of religious homage paid to the science and all within that culture. And about 3/4 of the book is all about setting up the characters into a position to be able to explore this idea of what truly constitutes a world of tomorrow, of hope and prosperity, one that is, acceptable. What aspect and all does our own human freedoms and our own ability to reason and think and go on the strange and usual tangents play in our lives? It's a phenomenal book that really looks at some of the controversial issues within our time today. The majority of the scientific innovations that are present within A Brave New World are present now, and they were written well over 30 years past. I mean, they were written by somebody and all that literally was trying, Aldous actually was taking a look at our world that he lived in at that moment in time, creating this fantasy of existence and all that he never thought would be conceivably reached, and then you look at it, and we've reached a lot of it. In fact, some of the last pieces and all that were left out a couple of years ago have now emerged. So it's a good book and all to give kids a chance to really consider the world they're in. As you can see, I've got themes and all that match with these texts. These are the ones that we're going to be going through. Any one of these texts, if a student wants to purchase it to be able to mark on the copies, annotate, or anything else like that, they can be purchased through the Amazon.com's book market. You could purchase them through half-price books, thrift books. There's a whole bunch of different websites where you can get cheap books. The only one of them that there's really not a whole bunch of time before we actually start reading it is going to be Illustrated Mix. We're going to go into that pretty quick as soon as the school year starts. But the rest of these, you've got plenty of time to acquire if you as a student or you as a parent want these kids to be able to actually make direct notes within their own copies. Otherwise, there's plenty of copies available at the school. The kids will check them out. I'll keep a running record of who's got what book. And it's important to note that before a student can graduate from our school, they have to either give me back my copy of the book or give me back a different copy of the book. It is not a situation where money is sought for these. It's cheaper on the parent just to go ahead and order a new copy of the book if mine gets lost or damaged. And more importantly, if you replace a book with a book, then we still have a book. And that's what I'm after. So the rest of the information on this is going to be available to you. This last couple pages I'm going to send home. They'll be there for the students and parents to read through, sign, and return to me. And that's pretty much the info that you need to have about how to get through everything in this course. I'll have more information about the AP exam itself, the mock exams, and everything else like that as we go through the course and eventually arrive at the AP exam, and then hopefully for all seniors, graduation. If you have any additional questions or you need more information, feel free to reach out to me, and I will see you all soon.